Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Greetings and welcome to episode 129 of the Blockchain Show. This episode, we talk about Libra, Facebook's stablecoin, the Calibra wallet, and is it blockchain or not? Steve says no, but it's definitely crypto. So here we go.
Libra coin, what's that?
Facebook has a cryptocurrency. And
wow.
I don't know what to think about it. I want to say it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Some people say it doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter?
I don't know. That's one of the articles I got from globalcryptopress.com.
Who the fuck is globalcrystalpressmethod.com?
Crypto Press.
Crystal Method. Gotcha.
Crystal Meth. Crystalmeth.com.
Crypto Press. Yeah.
It's everywhere, man. Everybody is trying to cover this. It's a big hot topic right now. I got another one.
How could something so big not matter? Like, how can something that's not going to matter cause everybody to comment on it? How is that possible?
I don't know. I like the headline. It had like a yawning face emoji. I was like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it, though. To be honest,
You think it's a big yawn?
I mean, we'll get into it, but there's some things that I see, like some red flags. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's probably I just don't trust Facebook.
And you shouldn't.
I really don't. I don't know. Maybe we should just jump into it. I saw that there's going to be an independent, what do you call it? Like a council, the Libra Council.
Yeah, I forget what they call it. There's going to be decentralized to the extent that there will be between 8 and 1,000 companies that each shell out 10 million each, which puts the initial value just based off of people buying into it between 80 million and $1 billion, basically. I expect to be around $1 billion market evaluation right off the bat. Easily puts it in, the very top market cap cryptocurrencies. I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's definitely a cryptocurrency, not really a blockchain. They use the word blockchain, but there's no blocks, so not a blockchain.
That's right. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, he used the blockchain buzzword when Facebook was under fire for privacy issues. I wondered if he was just trying to be trendy, but I guess they had this thing in the works since before then.
Yeah, when you have such a federation of people, the blocks kind of don't really add much to it because you are you're not really trusting everybody. You're allowed to enact your method. So you have blocks because there's a block reward and blocks get written over. So you lose your reward and you lose the mining fee if you're not an honest miner, right? If you don't do the right thing. And so that's how it works. You have the blocks because that's ordering. When you have 8 or 100 semi-trusted people, you don't really need to do blocks. It just adds an extra layer of confusion to it. So it's not a blockchain, but it does use cryptography, strong cryptography, to assign to see who owns what. So people who say it's not a blockchain are correct. People who say it's not a cryptocurrency are wrong. It is definitely a cryptocurrency. It is not a fully decentralized cryptocurrency. It's a private blockchain by a consortium of between 8 and 1,000 companies. Facebook is largely building it, but I think it is not a nothing burger. I think if Facebook did this, or if it was somebody else like Amazon or Microsoft, or maybe not Microsoft so much anymore, Apple, any of the first companies to go ahead and build a federated coin with a basket of fiat currencies backing it is immediately a player in this space. What Bitcoin community has produced in the Bitcoin coin is a real piece of trash. I won't use it. It's impossible to use. I mean, you need in order to use it correctly, with Lightning Network, you need to have your own like node running, and you need to have you need to have 3 advanced degrees in order to figure out how to work it. You have to spend hundreds of dollars, and you have to open up channels that cost thousands of dollars. Where the blockchain worked just fine before it required all that extra stuff. So when somebody like Andreas says that it doesn't compete with, he used some keywords, but he was implying Bitcoin, that Libra coin does not compete with Bitcoin. He couldn't be further from the truth. It competes and it crushes it on many respects. On almost every single point, Libra coin is going to be better than the current roadmap for Bitcoin. Obviously, privacy, that's it's not going to be private. You're going to have to, the reason why Facebook is doing this is because Facebook gets about between $110 and $120 a year per user. Some users are worth more than others, but you can build a lot of tech if the value of a person is $110 for social. When you can kind of also then build separate tech that gets their financial data, that makes your social data worth that much more, even though currently it won't be tied to it right off the bat. This is not nothing burger. This is not, doesn't matter. This is huge. As we've said before on the show, there will be people in foreign countries who that's what they know the internet as. When they buy a cell phone, it comes with a free internet plan, because people don't have a lot of money in developing countries. And so they get free internet, but the internet is actually just like Facebook. It'd be kind of like equivalent to saying, you get free streaming videos in here in America on T-Mobile, but it's like only with Netflix, right? So your data through Netflix is unlimited, but other stuff is not. And so this is a huge, huge deal. This would be most of the world's first thing they know of a cryptocurrency. And it'll perform smoothly. It is a big deal. It immediately is a contender for the largest market cap cryptocurrency.
And going back to what you said about it not being a blockchain, is that because the central group Libra? I read that they're the only ones allowed to create a node, and is that's completely different from? I mean, it's definitely not.
Yeah, no. So that's another difference, right? So only people who pay those $10 million are allowed to create nodes. They're the only ones who have the rights to nodes, and they're the only ones who can create nodes. But you can still have private blockchains, right? True blockchains. It's just when a blockchain, what you do is you take a bunch of transactions, and then some miner then verifies the cryptographic proof that this person can spend it, that's a valid transaction, and then groups those together in a block, right? So a grouping of transactions. It's not a blockchain because it doesn't group transactions. There are no blocks, right? Each transaction is verified in its own, and it's kind of added to the distributed ledger. So now the point you mentioned of how they're also different in that it's completely private, where you have to be somebody who pays at least initially at least $10 million to have rights to run a node. Yeah. And
that's way different than open source cryptos like Bitcoin, because can't any miner create a node?
Yeah, and there's even people who don't mine can still have nodes, right? But yeah, anybody who wants to can join the network and contribute to the security of the network. So that's a big difference between Libra coin and a public blockchain. It's just that you can have a private blockchain too. You can have so this is kind of like a private distributed ledger, private cryptographic distributed ledger, right? Which is way too fancy, and it's just easier for them to use the term blockchain, even though in their manuals, in their papers, in the paper, it kind of talks how like their blockchain doesn't have blocks, right? My database doesn't have tables. It's just like it's a different type of thing. I guess there are. So It has the same function, or like a very similar function. A lot of times when you want to build a private type of ledger, you probably don't want to waste the extra effort on blocks. Blocks have a particular purpose when you don't know who is going to be producing it and when you can't control it, the producers. But in this case, they know the producers and can kind of control what the producers are doing. So they're not needed in this particular case, but it makes it not a blockchain. Now, still cryptocurrency, though.
Got it. It looks like they've got 27 other quote-unquote partners, also known as well-known international corporations like Uber and MasterCard. And so that's, I guess...
So that's $270 million right off the bat.
Yeah, and they each had to pay $10 million to fund Libra and get one vote governing it. So it's not all in Facebook's control. And it's funny that it's called a nonprofit that's overseeing the currency, but they're definitely all going to profit from this somehow.
Yeah, the companies will, but it's or at least they're going to try to. You know, that puts it top 36 just right off the bat. Because every dollar that they put in, they get that money goes into the fund, right? So that's how the fund starts. So yeah, it immediately makes them the top 36. And once they get people on board, there are so many people who, I mean, this is a year and a half away, basically, that are going to use this, or when they're going to start. Very, very quickly, they're going to bring people on board because they have so many tech companies involved in it. It's going to, I think, be a big deal globally.
Yeah, it brings up the question of adoption versus usage, because technically, like the 2.4 billion Facebook users are going to have it pre-installed when it goes live. I mean, those numbers are just reflecting Facebook users. It's not really going to show like who's actually going to use it. And I wonder like how many, I don't know. I guess it's going to open up a lot for the unbanked, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it's going to be a bad thing for the unbanked too, because now they'll have, an access to a fairly decent currency, because this currency is going to be okay. They're going to have a basket of debts, corporate bonds and government bonds, type of stuff, and then a basket of fiat currencies that they maintain a stable value, which a lot of people, that's what they need, right? And, if you're in Turkey or Venezuela or Argentina or, some country where the currency's just dropping when, hyperinflation is setting in, this is going to provide stable value for a lot of people that wouldn't have it otherwise. And that's a good thing, right? No mistake about it. People will benefit from it. But at the same time, Facebook is going to take they're getting something from it, right? They're taking their privacy. They're becoming, it's more like a script. These old like coal companies and would give workers company script that could only be spent in the company store, right? And then charge a lot more for goods that were needed. So it could be pretty bad, right? It could be, Facebook hasn't been good stewards of our data. They haven't used their position very, very well. Haven't done anything for our privacy. Something that surprisingly Apple does a pretty good job with, but the other tech companies, their business model is to take our privacy and our data and find the best way to sell that to the highest bidder.
Yeah, I mean, they're really distrusted, like in, I don't know, maybe just in the West I can speak to. It looks like they're going to try to combat that with ID verification, fraud protection, and a promise not to use financial data to sell ads without users' consent.
Without user consent. So, I mean, who reads those things of what you're consenting to when you sign up?
Yeah, no one. And now they're going to have, even if people actually use it to buy stuff, they're going to have complete information over what people are doing. Now they can know, now we know for sure where you're spending your money. We don't have to come up with all these algorithms to guess. which is kind of creepy.
Yeah, no, they will have so much power, so much information. It's going to be a pretty big boon for the companies, considering that the crypto alternative, the major crypto alternative is in such poor shape. I suspect that it's going to do quite well.
Yeah, I looked up the name Libra because I was curious what else it meant. Obviously, in horoscopes, it means babies born between September 23rd and October 23rd. So technically, I'm a Libra. But in French, Libra with an R-E means free. But in Australia, Libra is a leading tampon brand. So it's an awkward name.
I mean, it's funny because the Winklevoss twins, Tyler and Cameron, have a crypto company as well, and it is Gemini, which is a different zodiac symbol. So it's kind of interesting that maybe it's a little payback from Zuckerberg to name his company Libra.
Could be
a different zodiac sign, because the Gemini makes a little sense because that's just twins, right, or something.
Yeah. I guess like this, the sign for Libra looks like scales, like the justice scales.
Right.
So I wonder if that has. I don't know. I have no idea. It looks like bacon. Have you seen the three wavy lines?
Yeah, the three wavy lines is like bacon.
I can't. Everything about it's just bizarre. Like I don't.
It's a very bizarre thing, but that's. Is it bizarre? Why is it bizarre?
I can't put my finger on it. You know what I mean? It's just it just seems kind of fishy. I don't know. I know that's a terrible. It's just, I don't know. It's just like a gut feeling I have. It seems like I looked all over Reddit and
Facebook, and they're definitely coming to. They're partnering with the banks. It's not like this is going to be a coin that's going to take over banks and private banks or whatever. They're propping up because they're using the currencies to keep this coin in value. This is like the establishment's way of getting into the crypto space and try to head it off in the past, right? This is their ditch attempt to remain relevant. It's also Zuckerberg's attempt to take as much power for himself as possible. This is not something that private companies do, right? Russia says it'll be illegal right off the bat. There's senators in the United States that are trying to stop it. I imagine it's going to be banned in a lot of countries, but there'll be enough countries where it'll make a pretty penny. What were you going to say before I cut you off?
Like we were talking about earlier, it was all over all the channels yesterday. I was looking at Twitter, Reddit, Discord, Telegram, even Facebook a little bit. I try not to go on there much anymore, but it just seemed like most people were angry and convinced it's going to ruin crypto for everyone. And I look mainly at the crypto specific groups, the people that we've kind of built somewhat of relationships with over the years. I kind of follow some of them. And I remember last week we had the guy from Axel on, and he was kind of speculating, why are they getting into this? It's not like they need it for the money because they're all rich.
Yeah, they all want more money.
I guess so, man.
More power. I mean, it's power.
Yeah. Some people think it's the funniest ones I read was like it's been prophesized in the Bible that if you don't go along with the mark of the beast, you'll no longer be able to use the currency or something like that. And I was like, oh, wouldn't that be hilarious if this is like the new global currency? And if you don't, how like they were starting to ban people for if you had the wrong speech kind of thing, or hate speech. Oh man, I got black helicopters overhead. What if they could just say, "Hey, we're going to shut off your Libra." If it gets to the point where like Libra's, if like the dollar tanks. Well, I guess if the dollar tanks, it's a moot point because it's tied to the dollar.
For certain, this is going to be, a currency that is not censorship resistant. It's going to be incredibly easy to prevent. If somebody becomes a target from a government, they're going to the Federation of Companies is going to roll over and give the government whatever they want it. Right? This freedom fighter is a on trial for X, freeze all his funds, right? That's what we did with, what is it, Assange?
Yeah, I think they were. I don't know if that's the case, but I know that MasterCard and Stripe were shutting people down if they're doing anything related to terrorism. But then they expanded it to hate speech. So that's why we saw Patreon getting rid of people, because they were basically, Stripe's bitch, for lack of a better term, because Stripe runs all the processing for Patreon. So that's why we saw Sargon of Akkad and some of the other people get kicked off, because it was ultimately Stripe, or maybe it was MasterCard, that had the issue. And it looks like all those companies are involved with the nonprofit. Is it called Calibra, or is Calibra just the wallet?
Calibra is, Libra is the coin, right? And the federation. But Facebook, once, they set up everything, isn't in charge of Libra. Nobody really is. It's like a conglomerate. Calibra is Facebook's wallet, right? So Calibra is a wholly owned subsidiary that Facebook owns, and it's going to be a wallet first, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So Calibra is the wallet that Facebook hopes to make.
I've been trying to get off of Facebook, so I definitely don't think I'm going to use this personally.
Do you use Uber? Do you use Lyft? Do you use MasterCard? Do you buy stuff online?
I do. I don't really do Uber and Lyft anymore. Oh, I guess I have MasterCard, like a MasterCard debit card.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the future, because the way credit cards work is it's not good for the internet, right? You give them your account number; it's the same. What you give them is the same. It's the same thing as your account number allows you to spend, as well as make payments. So if you pay somebody, then now they can spend it.
Yeah.
If you have right. So it's not great. I imagine that, if things go well, it's certainly possible that, maybe not for us, right? Maybe not for people in the United States, maybe not for people in Canada, right? Well, I would say maybe not for people in the UK, but their currency apparently is taking a shit too. So, but, for people in countries that don't have a great currency, I would bet it'd be a much stabler, much more stable value.
Yeah.
So I think people would, own that coin and start using it. I think it's going to lift a lot of people out of poverty, and I'm all in favor of that, even if it's a soulless, privacy robbing company.
Right.
Because nobody else is doing it, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're right.
You're
right. It's a good point. I was trying to think of an example, but I can't really think of one right now. It's interesting to me that I think I was watching it on like CNN or one of those news channels, and how they have experts come on and they were just like fumbling over their words. They were, nobody really has a good grasp of this stuff, and now it's out there, and now it's like a really big news story. People are just kind of scrambling to try to understand it, and obviously I'm not the best to explain it. You're far better, but
there's people better than me. So
I know enough to understand what's going on, but I feel like cryptocurrency is still kind of maybe not in its infancy anymore, but maybe more like I don't know, would you say young adolescence?
Early adopter, yeah. You're still an early adopter, So even in countries like Turkey, which is one of those horrible hyperinflation type countries, only 16% of the population has used it, right? In America, only 6% of the population has ever used a cryptocurrency. Maybe it's only Bitcoin. I don't know. Whatever it is, though, right? It's still not mass market. Something like Facebook comes on, all the news wants it. All the news channels want to talk about it. It's super interesting, and it's going to do great. If you only want to make a bit of money, it's a good time to buy Bitcoin. It's a good time to buy Ethereum. It's a good time to buy these coins, because the attention that's going to be brought to the crypto space is going to be huge over the next weeks to months. And then while Facebook is going to stay in the spotlight for a while, and it's really hard. You're not gonna make any money off of. That's another thing people are getting right about this is, people a lot of times just want to make a buck, right? So here's this coin that Facebook's going to make. Can I profit off of it? Not really. Nobody's going to make any money, buying Libra coin. It's not that type of. It's a stable value. So you're going to do it with your if you have extra cash lying around and you want to keep a stable value. If you're a producer of goods that you sell on the internet, you may use it to accept payments, and then you may want to keep those payments, to run your business. But you're not going to be able to purchase. You're not going to want to purchase this coin in an effort to speculate and 10x it and then sell it, like you have done with other cryptos.
Yeah. If anybody says buy Libra to get rich, I think they're pretty misinformed. It doesn't. I don't get that impression at all. It's just interesting to me, man. Last thing I'll say about it is everybody's saying it's much more stable than Bitcoin because it's tied to it's backed up by hard money like the U.S. dollar and.
Yeah, they don't say hard money. I don't think they say fiat. I don't know what they say, but.
Well, just money.
I think hard money has a specific meaning.
That's
like
the wrong term.
Gold. Yeah, hard money has a specific type of deal where it's like hard money. They say it's backed up by something like a real asset, meaning that Bitcoin isn't backed by anything, and that's there's nothing backing it. There's nothing backing the dollar either, but people say that it's backed by the United States, the full faith of the United States government.
Yeah, I guess that's even more to my point though, because regular currencies like the dollar, we think they're stable, but if you look at it, you look at the value of the dollar over the last 100 years, it's nothing what it used to be.
The dollar, if you look at for the past 100 years, $100 is worth pennies now, right? Or whatever it is. The United States dollar loses like 2% of its value per year. So it's very, very largely stably loses that. Sometimes it loses, only 0.5%, sometimes it loses 4%. But, it's not going to lose, it doesn't typically lose much more than that, right? It's a very steady burn rate. And so when you have a basket of different currencies that all kind of like slowly lose their purchasing power, because that's what, currencies do. And then you also have government bonds or government debt that you're doing. So I think a lot of it's going to be, they're going to be trying to earn interest on these baskets of currencies and baskets of bonds. And that's how they're going to make their money. They're going to make money of the deposits and the interest that they earn. So I guess, but neither here nor there, to answer your question, that's how, the coin provides stability, is because it's relative to an international basket of bonds and debts, and you kind of like smooth out the different curve, even if like one, even if you have a little bit of USD, and the USD might lose 50% of its value. If you have, the yen and the yuan and the euro, and then some AAA government bonds or whatever, you're not going to lose much of your value. So that's why people want that stability. A lot of people do. So
the basket case. That's what I was thinking of for some reason.
The basket case, huh?
Yeah, man. I know you got to go.
Yeah, man.
But
all right, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
Like the show.
Cheers. If you've not already, please subscribe to this podcast wherever you enjoy listening and give us a kind rate and review. It really helps others find the show and helps to spread the word on blockchain. And thank you very much for downloading this episode of The Blockchain Show. We'll be back next week.